Hello, and welcome to Shakespeare 2020 LA. Shakespeare 2020 LA is the Los Angeles division of Shakespeare Project 2020, a worldwide challenge created by Ian Desher to read the entire Shakespeare canon in 2020. And we are comprised of Los Angeles-based actors. Our reading today is Henry IV, Part 1, and our players are Jason Rennie, Christopher Carbo, Taylor Marr, Sasha Venn, Megan Wells, Ron Dorn, Chris Klein, Emily Vasilos, Emily Redmond Hall, Caitlin McCormick, John Eddings, Michael Burkhardt, Elizabeth Juvenal, and Kelsey Risher. I'm Mary Carrick. In preparation for this week's reading, our cast had lively discussions with several themes emerging: loyalty and entitlement, duty and payback. Prince Hal's ragtag gang, his entourage, can be found in any age where someone of privilege, means, or status attracts wannabes. Much to his father's dismay, Hal is sowing his wild oats, yet we assume that somewhere in the back of his mind, he anticipates cutting loose his crew and accepting his royal duties. Frustrations lead to rebellion when Hotspur and his cronies resent having fought to elevate King Henry, and they're now tossed aside. Henry has every reason to be nervous. This same gang successfully deposed Richard II, and they feel they are entitled to land, money, and status. Loyalties shift, and just in the nick of time, Prince Hal, after a stern scolding from his father, comes to his senses. So what happens to Prince Hal's ragtag band? Well, we shall see. The Henry IV saga continues to unfold, and yes, there is a part 2. We love our sequels. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and keep score, and decide which rose you would choose, the red or the white. William Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 1.
Act 1, Scene 1. London, the King's Palace. Enter the King, Lord John of Lancaster, and the Earl of Westmoreland.
So shaken as we are, so wan with care, find we a time for frighted peace to pant and breathe short-winded accents of new broils to be commenced in strands afar remote. No more the thirsty entrance of this soil shall daub her lips with her own children's blood. No more shall trenching war channel her fields, nor bruise her flowrets with armed hooves of hostile paces. Those opposed eyes, which, like the meteors of a troubled heaven, all of one nature, of one substance bred, did lately meet in the intestine shock and furious close of civil butchery, shall now, in mutual well-beseeming ranks, march all one way, and be no more opposed against acquaintance, kindred, and allies. The edge of war, like an ill-sheathed knife, no more shall cut his master. Therefore, friends, as far as to the sepulchre of Christ, whose soldier now, under whose blessed cross we are impressed and engaged to fight, forthwith a power of English shall we levy, whose arms are moulded in their mothers' wombs to chase these pagans in those holy fields over whose acres walked those blessed feet, which 1400 years ago were nailed for our advantage on the bitter cross. But this, our purpose now is 12-month old, and bootless 'tis to tell you we will go. Therefore, we meet not now. Then let me hear of you, my gentle cousin Westmoreland, what yesternight our council did decree in forwarding this dear expedience.
My liege, this haste was hot in question, and many limits of the charge set down. But yesternight, when all athwart there came a post from Wales loaden with heavy news, whose worst was that the noble Mortimer, leading the men of Hertfordshire to fight against the irregular and wild Glendower, was by the rude hands of that Welshman taken. 1,000 of his people butchered, upon whose dead corpse there was such misuse, such beastly shameless transformation, by whose Welshwomen done, as may not be without much shame retold or spoken of.
It seems then that the tidings of this broil break off our business for the Holy Land.
This matched with the other did, my gracious lord. For more uneven and unwelcome news came from the north, and thus it did import. On Holy Rood Day, the gallant Hotspur there, young Harry Percy, and brave Archibald, that ever valiant and approved Scot, at Holmdon met, where they did spend a sad and bloody hour, and by discharge of their artillery and shape of likelihood, the news was told. For he that brought them in the very heat and pride of their contention did take horse, uncertain of the issue any way.
Here is a dear, a true industrious friend, Sir Walter Blunt, new lighted from his horse, stained with the variation of each soil betwixt that Holmdon and this seat of ours, and he hath brought us smooth and welcome news. The Earl of Douglas is discomfited. 10,000 bold Scots, 22 knights, balked in their own blood, did Sir Walter see on Holmdon's plains. Of prisoners Hotspur took Mordek, Earl of Fife, and eldest son, to beaten Douglas, and the Earl of Athol, of Murray, Angus, and Menteith. And is not this an honourable spoil? A gallant prize? Ha! Cousin, is it not?
In faith, it is a conquest for a prince to boast of.
Yea, there thou makest me sad, and makest me sin in envy that my Lord Northumberland should be the father to so blessed a son who is the theme of honour's tongue, amongst a grove the very straightest plant, who is sweet fortune's minion and her pride, whilst I, by looking on the praise of him, see riot and dishonour stain the brow of my young Harry. That it could be proved that some night-tripping fairy had exchanged in cradle clothes our children where they lay, and called mine Percy his Plantagenet. Then would I have his Harry, and he mine. But let him for my thoughts. What think you, coz, of this young Percy's pride? The prisoners which he in this adventure hath surprised, to his own use he keeps, and sends me word I shall have none but Mordek, Earl of Fife.
This is his uncle's teaching. This is Worcester, malevolent to you in all aspects, which makes him prune himself and bristle up the crest of youth against your dignity.
But I have sent for him to answer this, and for this cause awhile we must neglect our holy purpose to Jerusalem. Cousin, on Wednesday next our council we will hold at Windsor, so inform the lords. But come yourself with speed to us again, for more is to be said and to be done than out of anger can be uttered.
I will, my liege.
Act 1, Scene 2. Prince Hal's apartments in London. Enter the Prince of Wales and Sir John Falstaff.
Now, Hal, what time of day is it, lad?
Thou art so fat-witted with drinking of old sack, and unbuttoning thee after supper, and sleeping upon benches after noon, that thou hast forgotten to demand that truly which thou wouldst truly know. What a devil hast thou to do with the time of day, unless hours were cups of sack, and minutes capons, and then clocks the tongues of bawds, and dials the signs of leaping houses, and then the blessed sun himself, a fair hot wench in flame-colored taffeta? I see no reason why thou shouldst be so superfluous to demand the time of the day.
Indeed, you come near me now, Hal. For we that take purses go by the moon and the 7 stars, and not by Phoebus, he that wandering knight so fair. And I prithee, sweet wag, when thou art king, as God save thy grace, majesty, I should say, for grace, thou wilt have none.
What, none?
No, by my troth, not so much as will serve to be a prologue to an egg and butter.
Well, how then? Come, roundly.
Marry then, sweet wag, when thou art king, let not us that are squires of the night's body be called thieves of the day's beauty. Let us be Diana's foresters, gentlemen of the shade, minions of the moon, and let men say we be men of good government, being governed as the sea is by our noble and chaste mistress, the moon. under whose countenance we steal.
Oh, thou sayest well, and it holds well too. For the fortune of us that are the moon's men doth ebb and flow like the sea, being governed as the sea is by the moon. As for proof now, a purse of gold most resolutely snatched on Monday night and most dissolusely spent on Tuesday morning, got with swearing, "Lay by!" and spent with crying, "Bring in!" Now in as low an ebb as the foot of the ladder, and by in as high a flow as the ridge of the gallows.
By the Lord, thou sayest true, lad. And is not my hostess of the tavern a most sweet wench?
As the honey of Hybla, my old lad of the castle, and is not a buff jerkin a most sweet robe of durance?
Oh, how now, mad wag? What in thy quips and thy quiddities? What a plague have I to do with a buff jerkin?
Why, what a pox have I to do with my hostess of the tavern?
Well, thou hast called her to a reckoning many a time and oft.
Did I ever call for thee to pay thy part?
No, I'll give thee thy due. Thou hast paid all there.
Yea, and elsewhere, so far as my coin would stretch. And where it would not, I have used my credit.
Yea, and so used it, that were it not here apparent that thou art heir apparent. But I prithee, sweet wag, shall there be gallows standing in England when thou art king? And resolution thus fubbed as it is with the rusty curb of old Father Antic the law? Do not, when thou art king, hang a thief.
No, thou shalt.
Shall I? Oh, rare. By the Lord, I'll be a brave judge.
Thou judgest false already. I mean, thou shalt have the hanging of the thieves, and so become a rare hangman.
Well. And in some sort it jumps with my humor as well as waiting in the court, I can tell you.
For obtaining of suits?
Yea, for obtaining of suits, whereof the hangman hath no lean wardrobe. Ah, splud. I'm as melancholy as a gib cat or a hugged bear.
Or an old lion or a lover's lute.
Yea, or the drone of a Lincolnshire bagpipe.
No, what sayest thou to a hare, or the melancholy of mortgage?
Thou hast the most unsavory similes, and art indeed the most comparative, rascaliest, sweet young prince. But Hal, I prithee, trouble me no more with vanity. I would to God thou and I knew where a commodity of good names were to be bought. An old lord of the council rated me the other day in the street about you, sir, but I marked him not. And yet he talked very wisely. But I regarded him not. And yet he talked wisely. And in the street, too.
Thou didst well, for wisdom cries out in the streets, and no man regards it.
Oh, thou hast damnable iteration, and art indeed able to corrupt a saint. Thou hast done much harm upon me, Hal. God forgive thee for it. Before I knew thee, Hal, I knew nothing, and now am I, if a man should speak truly, little better than one of the wicked. I must give over this life, and I will give it over. By the Lord, and I do not, I am a villain. I'll be damned for never a king's son in Christendom.
Where shall we take a purse tomorrow, Jack?
Oh, zoons, where thou wilt, lad. I'll make one, and I do not call me villain and baffle me.
I see a good amendment of life in thee, from praying to purse-taking.
How? 'Tis my vocation, Hal. 'Tis no sin for a man to labor in his vocation. Ah, poins! Now shall we know if Gad's Hill have set a match. Oh, if men were to be saved by merit, what hole in hell were hot enough for him? This is the most omnipotent villain that ever cried stand to a true man.
Good morrow, Ned.
Good morrow, sweet Hal. What says Monsieur Remorse? What says Sir John Sack and Sugar? Jack, how agrees the devil in thee about thy soul, that thou soldest him on Good Friday last for a cup of Madeira and a cold capon's leg?
Sir John stands to his word. The devil shall have his bargain, for he was never yet a breaker of proverbs. He will give the devil his due.
Then thou art damned for keeping thy word with the devil.
Else he had been damned for cousining the devil.
But, my lads, tomorrow morning, by 4 o'clock early, at Gad's Hill, There are pilgrims going to Canterbury with rich offerings, and traders riding to London with fat purses. I have vizards for you all, and you have horses for yourselves. Gadshill lies tonight in Rochester. I have bespoke supper tomorrow night in Eastcheap. We may do it as secure as sleep. If you will go, I will stuff your purses full of crowns. If you'll not, tarry at home and be hanged.
Hear you, Yedward, if I tarry at home and go not, I'll hang you for going.
You will, Chops.
How? Wilt thou make one?
Who? I rob? I? A thief? Not I, by my faith.
There's neither honesty, manhood, nor good fellowship in thee, nor thou camest not of the blood royal, if thou darest not stand for 10 shillings.
Well then, once in my days, I'll be a madcap.
That's well said.
Well, come what will, I'll tarry at home.
By the Lord, I'll be a traitor when thou art king.
I care not.
Sir John, I prithee, leave the prince and me alone. I will lay him down such reasons for this adventure that he shall go.
Well, God give thee the spirit of persuasion, and him the ears of profiting, that what thou speakest may move, and what he hears may be believed, and that the true prince may, for recreation's sake, prove a false thief, for the poor abuses of the time want countenance. Farewell, you shall find me in Eastcheap.
Farewell, thou latter spring. Farewell, all hallowed summer.
Now, my good, sweet honey lord, ride with us tomorrow. I have a jest to execute that I cannot manage alone. Falstaff, Peto, Bardolph, and Gadshill shall rob those men that we have already waylaid. Yourself and I will not be there. And when they have the booty, if you and I do not rob them, cut this head off from my shoulders.
Well, how shall we part with them in setting forth?
We will set forth before or after them and appoint them a place of meeting, wherein it is at our pleasure to fail. And then will they adventure upon the exploit themselves, which they have no sooner achieved, but we will set upon them.
Yea, but 'tis like that they will know us by our horses, by our habits, and by every other appointment to be ourselves.
Our horses they shall not see. I'll tie them in the wood. Now, our vizards we will change after we leave them. Sir, I have cases of buckram for the nonce to mask our noted outward garments.
Yea, but I doubt they will be too hard for us.
Well, for 2 of them I know them to be as true-bred cowards as ever turn back. And for the third, if he fight longer than he sees reason, I'll forswear arms. The virtue of this jest will be in the incomprehensible lies that this same fat rogue will tell us when we meet at supper. How 30 at least he fought with. What wars, what blows, what extremities he endured. Oh, and in the reproof of this lies the jest.
Well, I'll go with thee. Provide us all things necessary, and meet me tomorrow night in SG. There I'll sup. Farewell.
Farewell, my lord.
I know you all, and will a while uphold the unyoked humor of your idleness. Yet herein will I imitate the sun, who doth permit the base contagious clouds to smother up his beauty from the world, that when he please again to be himself, being wanted, he may be more wondered at by breaking through the foul and ugly mists of vapors that did seem to strangle him. If all the year were playing holidays, to sport would be as tedious as to work. But when they seldom come, they wished for come, and nothing pleaseth but rare accidents. So when this loose behavior I throw off and pay the debt I never promised, by how much better than my word I am. By so much shall I falsify men's hopes, and, like bright metal on a sullen ground, my reformation, glittering o'er my fault, shall show more goodly and attract more eyes than that which hath no foil to set it off. I'll so offend to make offense a skill, redeeming time when men think least I will.
Act 1, Scene 3. Windsor, the Council Chamber. Enter the King, Northumberland, Worcester, Hotspur, and Sir Walter Blunt.
My blood hath been too cold and temperate, unapt to stir at these indignities, and you have found me, for accordingly you tread upon my patience. But be sure I will from henceforth rather be myself, mighty, and to be feared, than my condition, which hath been smooth as oil, soft as young down, and therefore lost that title of respect which the proud soul ne'er pays but to the proud.
Our house, my sovereign liege, little deserves the scourge of greatness to be used on it. And that same greatness, too, which our own hands have hopped to make so portly.
My lord.
Worcester, get thee gone, for I do see danger and disobedience in thine eye. Sir, your presence is too bold and peremptory, and majesty might never yet endure the moody frontier of a servant brow. You have good leave to leave us. When we need your use and counsel, we shall send for you. You are about to speak.
Yea, my good lord. Those prisoners in your highness's name demanded, which Harry Percy here at Holmenden took, were, as he says, not with such strength denied as is delivered to your majesty. Either envy, therefore, or misprison is guilty of this fault, and not my son.
My liege, I did deny no prisoners. But I remember when the fight was done, when I was dry with rage and extreme toil, breathless and faint, leaning upon my sword, came there a certain lord, neat and trimly dressed, fresh as a bridegroom, his chin new reaped, showed like a stubble land at harvest home. He was perfumed like a milliner, and twixt his finger and his thumb he held a pouncet box, which ever and anon he gave his nose and took away again, who therewith angry, when it next came there, took it and snuffed. Still he smiled and talked, and as the soldiers bore dead bodies by, he called them untaught knaves, unmannerly, to bring a slovenly, unhandsome course betwixt the wind and his nobility. With many holiday and lady terms he questioned me, amongst the rest demanded my prisoners in your majesty's behalf. I then, all smarting with my wounds being cold, to be so pestered with a popinjay, out of my grief and my impatience, answered neglectingly, I know not what. He should or he should not, for he made me mad to see him shine so brisk and smell so sweet and talk so like a waiting gentlewoman of guns and drums and wounds and God save the mark, telling me the sommernest thing on earth was parmacetti for an inward bruise, and that it was a great pity, so it was, this villainous saltpeter should be digged out of the bowels of the harmless earth, which many a good tall fellow hath destroyed so cowardly. And but for these vile guns, you himself would have been a soldier. Huh. This bald, unjointed chat of his, my lord, I answered indirectly, as I said, and I beseech you, let not his report come current for an accusation betwixt my love and your high majesty.
Circumstance considered, good my lord, whate'er Lord Harry Percy then had said to such a person and in such a place at such a time, with all the rest retold, may reasonably die and never rise to do him wrong, or any way impeach what then he said, so he unsay it now.
Why? Yet he doth deny his prisoners, but with proviso and exception that we, at our own charge, shall ransom straight his brother-in-law, the foolish Mortimer, who, on my soul, hath wilfully betrayed the lives of those that he did lead to fight against that great magician, Damon Glendower, whose daughter, as we hear, that Earl of March hath lately married. Shall our coffers then be emptied to redeem a traitor home? Shall we buy treason and indent with fears when they have lost and forfeited themselves? No. On the barren mountains let him starve. For I shall never hold that man my friend, whose tongue shall ask me for 1 penny cost to ransom home revolted Mortimer.
Revolted Mortimer! He never did fall off, my sovereign liege, but by the chance of war. To prove that true needs no more but 1 tongue for all those wounds, those mouthed wounds, which he valiantly took, when on this gentle Severn's sedgy bank, in single opposition, hand to hand, he did confound the better part of an hour in changing hardiment with the great Glendower. 3 times they breathed, and 3 times they drink upon agreement of swift Severn's flood, who then, affrighted with their bloody looks, ran fearfully among the trembling reeds and hid his crisp head in the hollow bank, blood-stained with these valiant combatants. Never did bear the rotten policy color her working with such deadly wounds, nor never could the noble Mortimer receive so many, and all willingly. Then let not him be slandered with revolt.
Thou dost belie him, Percy. Thou dost belie him. He never did encounter with Glendower. I tell thee, he durst as well have met the devil alone as Owen Glendower for an enemy. Art thou not ashamed? But, sir, henceforth, let me not hear you speak of Mortimer. Send me your prisoners at the speediest means, or you shall hear in such a kind from me as will displease you. My Lord Northumberland, we license your departure with your son. Send us your prisoners, or you will hear of it.
Oh, and if the devil come and roar for them, I will not send them. Oh, I will after straight and tell him so, for I will ease my heart, albeit I make a hazard of my head.
What? Drunk with choler? Stay and pause a while. Here comes your uncle.
Speak of Mortimer. Sooth, I will speak of him. And let my soul want mercy if I do not join with him. Yea, on his part, I'll empty all these veins and shed my dear blood, drop by drop, in the dust. But I will lift the downtrodden Mortimer as high as in the air as this unthankful king, as this ingrate and cankered Bolingbroke.
Brother, the king hath made your nephew mad.
Who struck up this heat after I was gone?
He will forsooth have all my prisoners, and when I urged the ransom once again of my wife's brother, then his cheek looked pale, and on my face he turned an eye of death, trembling e'en at the name of Mortimer.
I cannot blame him. Was not he proclaimed by Richard that is dead, the next of blood?
He was. I heard the proclamation. And then it was when the unhappy king, whose wrongs in us God pardon, that did set forth upon his Irish expedition, from whence he, intercepted, did return to be deposed and shortly murdered.
And for whose death we in the world's wide mouth live scandalized and foully spoken of.
But soft, I pray you. Did King Richard then proclaim my brother Edmund Mortimer heir to the crown?
He did. Myself did hear it.
Ah! Nay then, I cannot blame his cousin king that wished him on the barren mountain starve. Shall it be that you that set the crown upon the head of this forgetful man, and for his sake wear the detested blot of murderous subornation? Shall it be that you a world of curses undergo, being the agents or base second means, the cords, the ladder, or the hangman? Rather, pardon me, that I descend so low to show the line and the predicament wherein you range under this subtle king. Shall it for shame be spoken in these days, or fill up chronicles in time to come, that men of your nobility and power did gauge them both in an unjust behalf, as both of you, God pardon it, have done, to put down Richard, that lovely rose, and plant this thorn, this canker Bolingbroke? And shall it in more shame be spoken that you were fooled, discarded, and shook off by him for whom these shames you underwent? No. Yet time serves wherein you may redeem your banished honors and restore yourselves into the good thoughts of the world again. Revenge the jeering and disdained contempt of this proud king, who studies day and night to answer all the debt he owes to you, e'en with the bloody payments of your deaths. Therefore, I say...
Please, cousin, say no more. And now I will unclasp the secret book And to your quick conceiving discontents, I'll read you matters deep and dangerous, as full of peril and adventurous spirit as to a walk of current whirling loud on the unsteadfast footing of a spear.
If ye fall in, good night or sink or swim. Send danger from the east unto the west, so honor cross it from the north to south, and let them grapple. The blood stirs to rouse a lion than to start a hare.
Imagination of some great exploit drives him beyond the bounds of patience.
By heaven, methinks it were an easy leap to pluck the bright honor from the pale-faced moon, or dive into the bottom of the deep where fathom line could never touch the ground, and pluck up drowned honor by the locks, so he that doth redeem her thence might wear without corrival all her dignities. Out upon this half-faced fellowship.
He apprehends a world of figures here, but not the form of what he should attend. Good cousin, give me audience for a while.
I cry you mercy.
Those same noble Scots that are your prisoners.
I'll keep 'em all. By God, he shall not have a Scot of 'em. No, if a Scot would save his soul, he shall not. I'll keep 'em by this hand.
You start away and lend no ear unto my purposes. Those prisoners you shall keep.
Nay, I will. That's flat. He said he would not ransom Mortimer, forbade my tongue to speak of Mortimer. Oh, but I'll find him when he's asleep, and in his ear I'll hollow, Mortimer! Nay, I'll have a starling shall be taught to speak nothing but Mortimer, and give it to keep his anger still in motion.
Cousin, hear you, cousin.
I don't know. Studies here I solemnly defy, save how to gall and pinch this Bolingbroke, this same sword and buckler Prince of Wales. But that I think his father loves him not, and would be glad he met with some mischance, I'd have him poisoned with a pot of ale.
Farewell, kinsman. I'll talk to you when you are better tempered to attend.
Why, what a wasp-stung and impatient fool art thou to break into this woman's mood, tying thine ear to no tongue but thine own.
Look you! I am whipped and scourged with rods, nettled and stung with pismires when I hear of this vile politician Bolingbroke. Richard's time. What do you call the place? Plague upon it. It's in Gloucestershire, it's where the madcap Duke his uncle kept, his Uncle York, where I first bowed my knee unto this king of smiles, this Bolingbroke. When you and he came back from Ravenspur.
And Berkeley Castle.
Yeah, you say true. Why, what a candy deal of courtesy this fawning greyhound then did proffer me. Look when his infant fortune come to age, and gentle Harry Percy and kind cousin. Oh, devil take such cousiners! God, good uncle, tell your tale. I have done.
Nay, if you have not, to it again, we will stay your leisure.
I have done the faith.
Then once more to your Scottish prisoners. Deliver them up without ransom straight, and make the Douglas son your only mean for powers in Scotland, which, for divers reasons, which I shall send you written, be assured will easily be granted. You, my lord, your son in Scotland, being thus employed, shall secretly enter the bosom creep of that same noble prelate, well beloved, the Archbishop.
Of York, does not?
True, who bears hard his brother's death at Bristol, the Lord of Scroop. I speak not this in estimation as what I think might be, but what I know is ruminated, plotted, and set down, and only staged but to behold the face of that occasion that shall bring it on.
I smell it. Upon my life, it will do well.
Before the game is afoot, thou still let's slip.
Why, it cannot choose but be a noble plot. And then the power of Scotland and of York to join with Mortimer, huh?
And so they shall.
In faith, It is exceedingly well aimed.
And 'tis no little reason bids us speed to save our heads by raising of a head. Forbear ourselves even as we can. The king will always think him in our debt, and we think ourselves unsatisfied till he hath found a time to pay us home. And see already how he doth begin to make us strangers to his looks of love.
He does. Will be revenged on him.
Cousin, farewell. No further go in this than I by letters shall direct your course. When time is right, which will be suddenly, I'll steal to Glendower and Lord Mortimer, where you and Douglas and our powers at once, as I will fashion it, shall happily meet to bear our fortunes and our own strong arms, which now we hold at much uncertainty.
Farewell, good brother. We shall thrive, I trust.
Uncle, adieu. Let the hours be short till fields and blows and groans applaud our sport. Act 2, Scene 1. Rochester, an inn yard. Enter a carrier with a lantern.
Hey ho! It be not 4 by the day I'll be hanged. Charles's wain is over the new chimney, and yet our horse not packed. What, ostler?
Anon, anon.
I prithee, Tom, beat cut saddle, put a few flocks in the point. Poor jade is wrung and the withers are out of all cess.
Peas and beans are as dank here as a dog, and that is the next way to give a poor jade's the thoughts. This house is turned upside down since Robin Osler died.
Poor fellow, never joyed since the price of oats rose. It was the death of him.
I think this be the most villainous house in all London roads for fleas. I am stung like a tench.
Like a tench? By the mass, there's ne'er a king christened to be better bit than I have been since the first cock.
Why, they will allow ne'er a Jordan, and then we leak in your chimney, and your chamber lie bleeds fleas like a loach.
What, ostler? Come away and be hanged. Come away.
I have a gammon of bacon and 2 races of ginger to be delivered as far as Charing Cross.
God's body, the turkeys in my pannier are quite starved. What, ostler? A plague on thee. Hast thou never an eye in thy head? Canst not hear? And 'twere not as good meat as drink to break the pate on thee. I'm a very villain. Come and be hanged. Hast no faith in thee?
Good morrow, carriers. What o'clock?
I think it be 2 o'clock.
Oh, I prithee, lend me thy lantern to see my gelding in the stable.
Nay, by God, soft. I know a trick worth 2 of that in faith.
I pray thee, lend me thine.
Aye, when, canst tell? Lend me thy lantern, quoth he. Marry, I'll see thee hanged first.
Sirrah carrier, what time do you mean to come to London?
Time enough to go to bed with a candle, I warrant thee. Come, neighbor Muggs, we'll call up the gentlemen. They will along with company, for they have great charge.
What ho, Chamberlain?
At hand, quoth Pickpurse.
That's even as fair as at hand, quoth the Chamberlain, for thou variest no more from picking of purses than giving direction doth from laboring. Thou layest the plot how?
Good morrow, Master Gadshill. It holds current that I told you yesternight. There's a Franklin in the Wild of Kent hath brought 300 marks with him in gold. I heard him tell it to one of his company last night at supper. A kind of auditor, one that hath abundance of charge too, God knows what. They are up already and call for eggs and butter. Away presently.
Sirrah, if they meet not with St. Nicholas's clerks, I'll give thee this neck.
No, I'll none of it. I pray thee, keep that for the hangman, for I know thou worshipest St. Nicholas as truly as a man of falsehood may.
What talkest thou to me of the hangman? If I hang, I'll make a fat pair of gallows, for if I hang, old Sir John hangs with me. And thou knowest he is no starveling. But there are other Trojans that thou dream'st not of, the which for sport's sake are content to do the profession some grace, that would, if matters should be looked into, for their own credit's sake, make all whole. I am joined with no footland rakers, no long-staffed sixpenny strikers, none of these mad mustachio purple-hued maltworms, but with nobility and tranquility, burgomasters and great honneurs, such as can hold in, such as will strike sooner than speak, and speak sooner than drink, and drink sooner than pray, and yet, zoons, I lie, for they pray continually to their saint, the Commonwealth, or rather, not pray to her, but pray on her, for they ride up and down on her and make her their boots.
What, the Commonwealth their boots? Will she hold out water in foul way?
She will, she will. Justice hath liquored her. We steal, as in a castle, cocksure. We have the receipt of fern seed. We walk invisible.
Nay, by my faith, I think you are more beholden to the night than to fern seed for your walking invisible.
Give me thy hand. Thou shalt have a share in our purchase, as I am a true man.
Nay, rather let me have it, as you are a false thief.
Go to. Homo is a common name to all men. Bid the ostler bring my gelding out of the stable. Farewell, you muddy knave.
Act 2, Scene 2. Gad's Hill, a highway. Enter Prince, Poins, Bardolph, and Peto.
Come, shelter, shelter. I have removed Falstaff's horse, and he frets like a gummed velvet.
Stand close.
Poins! Poins! And be hanged. Poins!
Peace, you fat kidneyed rascal. What a brawling dost thou keep?
Where's Poins, Hal?
He has walked up to the top of the hill. I'll go seek him.
What, I am accursed to rob in that thief's company. The rascal hath removed my horse and tied him I know not where. If I travel but 4 foot by the square further afoot, I shall break my wind. Well, I doubt not but to die a fair death for all this, if I escape hanging for killing that rogue. I have forsworn his company hourly any time this 22 years, and yet I am bewitched with the rogue's company. If the rascal hath not given me medicines to make me love him, I'll be hanged. It could not be else. I've drunk medicines. Poins! Plague upon you both. Bardolph, Peto! I'll starve ere I'll rob a foot further. And 'twere not as good a deed as drink to turn true man and to leave these rogues. I'm the veriest varlet that ever chewed with a tooth. 8 yards of uneven ground is 70 miles afoot from me. And the stony-hearted villains know it well enough. A plague upon it when thieves cannot be true to one another. Oh, plague upon you all! Oh, give me my horse, you rogues! Give me my horse and be hanged!
Peace, you fat guts. Lie down, lay thine ear close to the ground, and list if thou canst hear the tread of travelers.
Have you any levers to lift me up again, being down? Blood, I'll not bear mine own flesh so far afoot again for all the coin in thy father's exchequer. What a plague mean you to colt me thus?
Thou liest. Thou art not colted, thou art uncolted.
I prithee, good Prince Hal, help me to my horse, good king's son.
Out, you rogue! Shall I be your ostler?
Hang thyself in thine own heir-apparent garters. If I be ta'en, I'll peach for this. And I have not ballads made on you all, and sung to filthy tunes, that a cup of sack be my poison. When a jest is so far forward, and afoot too, I hate it.
Stand.
So I do against my will.
Oh, 'tis our setter. I know his voice.
What news?
Case you. On with your vizards. There's money of the king's coming down the hill. 'Tis going to the king's exchequer.
You lie, you rogue. 'Tis going to the king's tavern.
There's enough to make us all.
To be hanged.
Sirs, you four shall front them in the narrow lane. Ned, Poins, and I will walk lower. If they escape from your encounter, then they light on us.
How many be there of them?
Some 8 or 10.
Tunes, will they not rob us?
What, a coward, Sir John Punch?
Indeed, I am not John of Gaunt, your grandfather, but yet no coward, Hal.
Well, we leave that to the proof.
Sirrah, Jack, thy horse stands behind the hedge. When thou needst him, there thou shalt find him. Farewell, and stand fast.
Now can I not strike him if I should be hanged?
Ned, where are our disguises?
Here and hard by. Stand close.
Now, my masters, happy man be his dole, say I. Every man to his business.
Come, neighbor. The boy shall lead our horses down the hill. We'll walk afoot a while and ease our legs.
Stand!
Damn!
Jesus bless us!
Strike! Down with them! Cut the villains' throats! Ah, horse-hung caterpillars, bacon-fed knaves! They hate us, youth! Down with them! Fleece them!
Oh, we are undone! Both we and ours forever!
Hang you gore-bellied knaves! Are you undone? No, you fat chuffs! I would your store were here! On, bacons, on! What, you knaves, young men must live! You're grand jurors, are you? We'll jury your faith!
Thieves have bound the true men. Now could thou and I rob the thieves and go merrily to London, it would be argument for a week, laughter for a month, and a good jest forever.
Stand close, I hear them coming.
Come, my masters, let us share, and then to horse before day. And the prince and Poins be not two errant cowards. There's no equity stirring. There's no more valor in that Poins than in a wild duck.
Your money!
Benins!
Got with much ease. Now, merrily to horse. The thieves are all scattered and possessed with fear so strongly that they dare not meet each other. Each takes his fellow for an officer. Away, good Ned. Falstaff sweats to death and lards the lean earth as he walks along. Were it not for laughing, I should pity him.
Oh, how the fat rogue roared!
Act 2, Scene 3. Northumberland. Walkworth Castle. Enter Hotspur. But for mine own part, my lord, I could be well contented to be there in respect of the love I bear your house. He could be contented. Why is he not then? In respect of the love he bears our house? He shows in this the love he loves his own barn better than he loves our house. Now, let me see some more. The purpose you undertake is dangerous. That's certain. 'Tis dangerous to take a cold, to sleep, to drink. But I tell you, my lord fool, out of this nettle danger we pluck this flower's safety. The purpose you undertake is dangerous, the friends you have named uncertain, the time itself unsorted, and your whole plot too light for the counterpoise of so great an opposition. Ah! Say you so? Say you so? And I say unto you again, you are a shallow, cowardly hind, and you lie. What a black brain is this? By the Lord, our plot is as good a plot as ever laid. Our friends true and constant. A good plot, good friends, full of expectation. An excellent plot. Very good friends. Our Frosty-spirited rogue is this. Why, my Lord of York commends the plot and the general course of the action. Soon's if I were now by this rascal, I could brain him with my lady's fan. Is there not my father, my uncle, and myself, Lord Edmund Mortimer, my Lord of York, and own Glendower? Is there not besides the Douglas? Have I not all their letters to meet me in arms by the 9th of the next month? And are there not some of them already set forward? A pagan rascal is this, an infidel. Shall see now, in the very sincerity of fear and cold heart, he will to the king and lay open all our proceedings. Could divide myself and go to buffets for moving such a dim dish of skim milk with so honorable an action. And hang him. Let him tell the king, we are prepared. We'll set forward tonight. How now, Kate? I must leave you within these 2 hours.
Oh, my good lord, why are you thus alone? For what offense have I this fortnight been, a banished woman from my Harry's bed? Tell me, sweet lord, what is it that takes from thee thy stomach, pleasure, and thy golden sleep? Why dost thou bend thine eyes upon the earth and start so oft when thou sitt'st alone? Why hast thou lost the fresh blood in thy cheeks, and given my treasures and my rights of thee to thick-eyed musings and crested melancholy? In thy faint slumbers I have by thee watched. I heard thee mumbled tales of iron wars, speak terms of manage to thy bounding steed, cry courage to the field. And thou hast talked of sallies and retires, of trenches, tents, of palisades, frontiers, parapets, of palaces, of cannon, culverin, of prisons, ransoms, and of soldiers slain, and all the currents of a heady fight. Thy spirit within thee hath been so at war, and thus hath so bestirred thee in thy sleep, that beads of sweat have stood upon thy brow like bubbles in a late disturbed stream. And in thy face strange motions have appeared, such as we see when men restrain their breath. Oh, some great sudden hest. Oh, what portents are these? Some heavy business hath my lord in hand, and I must know it, else he loves me not.
What up? Is Gillums with the packet gone?
He is, my lord, an hour ago.
Hath Butler brought those horses from the sheriff?
1 horse, my lord, he brought even now.
What horse? A roan, crop-ear, is it not?
It is, my lord.
Ha! That roan shall be my throne. Ha! Well, I will back him straight. No esperanza! Bid Butler lead him forth into the park.
But hear you, my lord?
What sayest thou, lady?
What is it carries you away?
My horse, my love, my horse.
Out, you mad-headed ape! A weasel hath not such a deal of spleen as you have tossed with. In faith, I'll know your business. Harry, that I will. I fear my brother Mortimer doth stir about his title and hath sent for you to line his enterprise. But if you go...
So far afoot, I shall be aweary, love.
Come, you parakeeto. Answer me directly onto this question that I ask you. In faith, I'll break thy little finger, Harry, and if thou wilt not tell me all the things true.
Away, you trifler, love. I love thee not. I care not for thee, Kate. This is no world to play with mammoths and to tilt with lips. We must have bloody noses and crack crowns and pass 'em current too. God's me, my horse! What sayest thou, Kate? What wouldst thou have with me?
Do you not love me? Do you not indeed? Well, do not then, for since you love me not, I will not love myself. Do you not love me? Nay, tell me you speak in jest or no.
Come, wilt thou see me ride? And when I am a horseback, I will swear I love thee infinitely. But hark you, Kate, I must not have you henceforth question me whither I go, nor reason whereabout. Whither I must, I must. And to conclude this evening, must I leave you, gentle Kate. I know you wise, but yet no farther wise than Harry Percy's wife. Constant you are, but yet a woman, and for secrecy no lady closer, for I well believe thou wilt not utter what thou dost not know. And so far will I trust thee, gentle Kate.
How? So far?
Not an inch further. But hark you, Kate, whither I go, thither shall you go too. Today will I set forth, tomorrow you. Will this content you, Kate?
It must of force.
Act 2, Scene 4. Eschine, the Boar's Head Tavern. Enter Prince and Poins.
Ned, prithee, come out of that fat room and lend me thy hand to laugh a little.
Where hast thou been, Hal?
Oh, with 3 or 4 loggerheads amongst 3 or 4 score hogsheads, I have sounded the very bass string of humility. Sir, I am sworn brother to a leash of drawers, and can call them all by their Christian names, as Tom, Dick, and Francis. They take it already upon their salvation, that though I be but Prince of Wales, yet I am the king of courtesy. And tell me flatly, I am no proud jack like Falstaff, but a Corinthian, a lad of mettle, a good boy, by the Lord, so they call me. When I am king of England, I shall command all the good lads in SG. They call drinking deep dying scarlet, and when you breathe in your watering, they cry and bid you play it off. To conclude, I am so good a proficient in 1/4 of an hour that I can drink with any tinker in his own language during my life. I tell thee, Ned, thou hast lost much honor that thou wert not with me in this action. But, sweet Ned, to sweeten which name of Ned, I give thee this pennyworth of sugar, clapped even now into my hand by an underskinker, one that never spake other English in his life than 8 shillings and 6 pence, or you are welcome, with this shrill addition. Anon, sir, score a pint of bastard in the half moon, or so. But, Ned, to drive away the time till Falstaff come, I prithee, do thou stand in some by-room while I question my puny drawer to what end he gave me the sugar, and do thou never leave calling, Francis, that his tale to me may be nothing but, anon! Step aside, and I'll show thee a precedent.
Francis!
Thou art perfect.
Francis!
Anon, sir. Look down into the pond garnet, Ralph.
Come hither, Francis.
My lord.
How long hast thou to serve, Francis?
Forsooth, 5 years, and as much as 2.
Francis!
Anon, sir.
5 year? My lady, a long lease for the clinking of pewter. But, Francis, darest thou be so valiant as to play the coward with thy indenture, and show it a fair pair of heels, and run from it?
Oh, Lord, sir, I'll be sworn upon all the books in England I could find in my heart.
Francis!
Anon, sir!
How old art thou, Francis?
Oh, let me see. About Michaelmas next, I shall be...
Francis!
Anon, sir! Pray stay a little, my lord.
Nay, but hark you, Francis, for the sugar thou gavest me, 'twas a pennyworth, was it not?
Oh, Lord, I would it had been 2.
I will give thee for it 1,000 pound. Ask me when thou wilt, and thou shalt have it.
Francis!
Anon, Francis? No, Francis, but tomorrow, Francis, or Francis, a Thursday, or indeed, Francis, when thou wilt, but, Francis.
My lord.
Wilt thou rob this leathern jerkin, crystal button, knot pated agate ring, puke stocking, caddis garter, smooth-tongued Spanish pouch?
Oh, Lord, sir, who do you mean?
Why, then, your brown bastard is your only drink. For look you, Francis, your white canvas doublet will sully. In Barbary, sir, it cannot come to so much.
What, sir?
Francis!
Away, you rogue! Dost thou not hear them call?
Francis!
Standest thou still and hear such a calling? Look to the guests within. My lord, old Sir John with half a dozen more are at the door. Shall I let them in?
Well, let them alone a while and then open the door. Coins!
Anon.
Sarah, Falstaff and the rest of the thieves are at the door. Shall we be merry?
Oh, as merry as crickets, my lad. But hark you, what cunning match have you made with this jest of the drawer? Come, what's the issue?
I am now of all humors that have showed themselves humor since the old days of Goodman Adam to the pupil age of this present 12 o'clock at midnight. What o'clock, Francis?
Anon, sir.
That ever this fellow should have fewer words than a parrot, and yet the son of a woman! His industry is upstairs and downstairs, his eloquence the parcel of a reckoning. I am not yet of Percy's mind, the Hotspur of the North, he that kills me some 6 or 7 dozen of Scots at a breakfast, washes his hands, and says to his wife, "Fie upon this quiet life, I want work!" "Oh, sweet, my sweet Harry," says she, "how many hast thou killed today?" "Give my roan horse a drench," says he, and answers, "Some 14 an hour after." A trifle. Prithee, call in Falstaff. I'll play Percy, and that damn Brawn shall play Dame Mortimer his wife. "Revo," says the drunkard, "call in Ribs and call in Tallow."
Welcome, Jack. Where hast thou been?
A plague of all cowards, I say. And a vengeance too. Marry and amen. Give me a cup of sack, boy. Ere I lead this life long, I'll sow nether stalks and mend them and foot them too. A plague of all cowards. Give me a cup of sack, you rogue. Is there no virtue extant?
Didst thou never see Titan kiss a dish of butter, pitiful hearted Titan, that melted at the sweet tail of the suns? If thou didst, then behold that compound.
You rogue! There's lime in this sack, too. There is nothing but roguery to be found in villainous man. Yet a coward is worse than a cup of sack with lime in it. A villainous coward. Go thy ways, old Jack. Die when thou wilt. If manhood, good manhood, be not forgot upon the face of the earth, then am I a shotten herring. There lives not 3 good men unhanged in England, and one of them is fat and grows old. God help the while. A bad world, I say. I would I were a weaver. I could sing psalms or anything. A plague of all cowards, I say still.
How now, Woolsack, what mutter you?
Oh, a king's son. If I do not beat thee out of thy kingdom with a dagger of lath, and drive all thy subjects afore thee like a flock of wild geese, I'll never wear hair on my face more, you Prince of Wales.
Why, you whoreson round man, what's the matter?
Are not you a coward? Answer me to that. Oh, and Poins there?
Zoons, you fat paunch. And you call me a coward. By the Lord, I'll stab thee.
I call thee a coward? I'll see thee damned ere I call thee a coward, but I would give 1,000 pound I could run as fast as thou canst. You're straight enough in the shoulders, you care not who sees your back. Call you that backing of your friends? A plague upon such backing. Give me them that will face me. Give me a cup of sack. I'm a rogue if I have drunk today.
No, villain, thy lips are scarce wiped since thou drunk last.
All is one for that. A plague of all cowards, still say I.
What's the matter?
What's the matter? There be 4 of us here. Have ta'en 1,000 pound this day morning.
Where is it, Jack? Where is it?
Where is it? Taken from us it is. 100 upon poor 4 of us.
What? 100 men?
I am a rogue if I were not at half sword with 12 of them 2 hours together. I have escaped by miracle. I am 8 times thrust through the doublet, 4 through the hose, my buckler cut through and through, and my sword, hacked like a handsaw. Ecce signum, huh? I never dealt better since I was a man. All would not do. A plague of all cowards. Oh, let them speak. If they speak more or less than the truth, they are villains and the sons of darkness.
Speak, sirs. How was it?
We 4 set upon some dozen
16, at least, my lord.
and bound them.
No, they were not bound.
You rogue. They were bound, every man of them, or I am a Jew else, an Hebrew Jew.
As we were sharing, some 6 or 7 fresh men set upon us.
And unbound the rest, and then come in the other.
What, fought you with them all?
All? Well, I know not what you call all, but if I fought not with 50 of them, I am a bunch of radish. If there were not 2 or 3 and 50 upon poor old Jack, then am I no 2-legged creature.
Oh, pray God, you have not murdered some of them.
Nay, that's past the praying for. I've peppered 2 of them. 2 I am sure I have paid. 2 rogues in buckram suits. I tell thee what, Hal. If I tell thee a lie, spit in my face and call me hoarse. Thou knowest my old ward. Here I lay, and thus I bear my point. 4 rogues in buckram, let drive at me.
Wait, what? 4? Thou saidst but 2 even now.
4, Hal. I told thee 4.
He said 4.
These 4 came all affront and mainly thrust at me. I made me no more ado, but took all their 7 points in my target thus.
7? Why, there were but 4 even now.
In buckram.
4 in buckram.
7 by these hills, or I am a villain else.
Prithee, let him alone. We shall have more anon.
Dost thou hear me, Hal?
Aye, and mark thee too, Jack.
Do so, for it is worth the listening to. These 9 in buckram that I told thee of.
So 2 more already.
Their points being broken.
Down fell their hose.
Began to give me ground, but I followed me close, came in foot and hand, and with a thought, 7 of the 11 I paid.
Oh, monstrous! 11 buckram men grown out of 2.
But, as the devil would have it, 3 misbegotten knaves in Kendall Green came at my back and let drive at me, for it was so dark, Hal, that thou couldst not see thy hand.
These lies are like their father that begets them. Gross as a mountain, open, palpable. Why, thou clay-brained guts, thou naughty-pated fool, thou whoreson, obscene, greasy tallow catch.
What? Art thou mad? Art thou mad? Is not the truth the truth?
Why, how couldst thou know these men in Kendall Green when it was so dark thou couldst not see thy hand? Come, tell us your reason. What sayest thou to this?
Come, your reason, Jack, your reason.
What? Upon compulsion? Zoons, and I were at the Strapado, or all the racks in the world, I would not tell you on compulsion. Give you a reason on compulsion? If reasons were as plentiful as blackberries, I would give no man a reason upon compulsion,
I'll be no longer guilty of this sin. This sanguine coward, this bed presser, this horse backbreaker, this huge hill of flesh.
Blood! You starveling! You elf-skin! You dried neat's tongue! You bull's pizzle! You stockfish! Oh, for breath to utter what is like thee! You tailor's yard! You sheath! You bow case! You vile standing tuck!
Breathe, well, breathe a while, and then to it again. And when thou hast tired thyself in base comparisons, hear me speak but this.
Mark, Jack.
We 2 saw you 4 set on 4, and bound them, and were masters of their wealth. Mark now how a plain tale shall put you down. Then did we 2 set on you 4, and with a word outfaced you from your prize, and have it, yea, and can show it you here in the house. And, Falstaff, you carried your guts away as nimbly with his quick dexterity and roared for mercy, and still run and roared as ever I heard bullcalf. What a slave thou art to hack thy sword as thou hast done, and then say it was in fight! What trick, what device, what starting hole canst thou now find out to hide thee from this open and apparent shame?
Come, let's hear it, Jack. What trick hast thou now?
Oh. By the Lord, I knew you as well as he that made you. Why, hear you, masters, was it for me to kill the heir apparent? Should I turn upon the true prince? Why, thou knowest I am as valiant as Hercules, but beware instinct. The lion will not touch the true prince. Instinct is a great matter, and I was now a coward on instinct. I shall think the better of myself, and thee during my life, I for a valiant lion, and thou for a true prince. But by the Lord, lads, I am glad you have the money. Hostess, clap to the doors. Watch tonight, pray tomorrow. Gallants, lads, boys, hearts of gold, all the titles of good fellowship come to you. What shall we be merry? Shall we have a play extempore?
Content, and the argument shall be thy running away.
No more of that, Hal, and thou lovest me.
Oh, Jesu, my lord, the prince.
How now, my lady the hostess, what sayest thou to me?
Marry, my lord, there is a nobleman of the court at the door would speak with you. He says he comes from your father.
I give him as much as will make him a royal man and send him back again to my mother.
What manner of man is he?
An old man.
What doth gravity out of his bed at midnight? Shall I give him his answer?
Prithee do, Jack.
Faith, and I'll send him packing.
Now, sirs, by Our Lady, you fought fair. So did you, Peto. So did you, Bardolph. You are lions too. You ran away upon instinct. You will not touch the true prince. No, fie.
Faith, I ran when I saw others run.
Faith, tell me now in earnest, how came Falstaff's sword so hacked?
Why, he hacked with his dagger and said he would swear truth out of England, but he would make you believe it was done in fight, and persuaded us to do the like.
Yea, and to tickle our noses with spear grass to make them bleed, and then to beslubber our garments with it, and swear it was the blood of true men. I did that I did not this 7 year before. I blush to hear his monstrous devices.
Oh, villain! Thou stolest a cup of sack 18 years ago, and wert taken with the manner, and ever since thou hast blushed extempore. Thou hadst fire and sword on thy side, and yet thou ranst away. What instinct hadst thou for it?
My lord, do you see these meteors? Do you behold these exhalations?
I do.
What think you they portend?
Hot livers and cold purses.
Choler, my lord, if rightly taken.
No, if rightly taken, halter. Oh, here comes Lean Jack. Here comes Barebone. How now, my sweet creature of bombast? How long is to go, Jack, since thou sawest thine own knee?
My own knee? When I was about thy years, Hal, I was not an eagle's talon in the waist. I could have crept into an alderman's thumb ring. A plague upon sighing and grief. It blows a man up like a bladder. There's villainous news abroad. Here was Sir John Bracy from your father. You must to the court in the morning. That same mad fellow of the north, Percy, and he of Wales that gave Amnon the bastinado and made Lucifer cuckold and swore the devil his true liegeman upon the cross of a Welsh hook. What a plague you call him.
Owen Glendower.
Owen, the same. And his son-in-law Mortimer and Noel Northumberland and that sprightly Scot of Scots Douglas that runs a horseback up a hill perpendicular.
He that rides at high speed and with his pistol kills a sparrow flying.
You have hit it. You have hit it.
So did he never the sparrow.
Oh, well, that rascal hath good mettle in him. He will not run.
Why, what a rascal art thou, then, to praise him so for running?
A horseback, you cuckoo. But afoot he will not budge a foot.
Yes, Jack, upon instinct.
I grant you, upon instinct. Well, he is there too. And one Mordake, and 1,000 blue caps more. Worcester is sowing away tonight. Thy father's beard is turned white with the news. You may buy land now as cheap as stinking mackerel.
Why then, it is like if there come a hot June, and this civil buffeting hold, we shall buy maidenheads as they buy hobnails by the hundreds.
By the mass, thou sayest true. It is like we shall have good trading that way. But tell me how, art thou not horrible afeard? Now being heir apparent, could the world pick thee out 3 such enemies again as that fiend Douglas, that spirit Percy, and that devil Glendower? Art thou not horribly afraid? Doth not thy blood thrill at it?
Not a whit, i' faith. I lack some of thy instinct.
Well, thou wilt be horribly chid tomorrow when thou comest to thy father. If thou love me, practice an answer.
Do thou stand for my father and examine me upon the particulars of my life.
Shall I? Content. This chair shall be my state. This dagger, my scepter, and and this cushion, my crown.
Thy state is taken for a joint stool, thy golden scepter for a leaden dagger, and thy precious rich crown for a pitiful bald crown.
Well, and the fire of grace be not quite out of thee. Now shalt thou be moved. Give me a cup of sack to make my eyes look red, that it may be thought I have wept, for I must speak in passion, and I will do it in King Cambysius's vein.
Well, here is my leg.
And here is my speech. Stand aside, nobility.
Oh, Jesu! This is excellent sport, i' faith.
Weep not, sweet queen, for trickling tears are vain.
Oh, the father, how he holds his countenance.
For God's sake, lords, convey my tristful queen, for tears do stop the floodgates of her eyes.
Oh, Jesu, he doth it as like one of those harlotry players as ever I see.
Peace, good pint pot, peace, good tickle brain. Harry, I do not only marvel where thou spendest thy time, but also how thou art accompanied thee. For though the chamomile, the more it is trodden on, the faster it grows, so youth, the more it is wasted, the sooner it wears. That thou art my son, I have partly thy mother's word, partly my own opinion, but chiefly a villainous trick of thine eye, and a foolish hanging of thy nether lip that doth warrant me. If then thou be son to me, here lies the point. Why, being son to me, art thou so pointed at? Shall the blessed Son of Heaven prove a mitcher and eat blackberries? A question not to be asked. Shall the Son of England prove a thief and take purses? A question to be asked. There is a thing, Harry, which thou hast often heard of, and it is known to many in our land by the name of pitch. This pitch, as ancient writers do report, doth defile. So doth the company thou keepest. But Harry, now I do not speak to thee in drink, but in tears. Not in pleasure, but in passion. Not in words only, but in woes also. And yet there is a virtuous man whom I have often noted in thy company, but I know not his name.
Oh, what manner of man, and it like your majesty?
A goodly, portly man, in faith, and a corpulent, of a cheerful look, a pleasing eye, and a most noble carriage. And as I think his age some 50, or by Our Lady inclining to 80, and now I remember me, his name is Falstaff. If that man should be lewdly given, he deceiveth me, for, Henry, I see virtue in his looks. Then the tree may be known by the fruit, as the fruit by the tree, then peremptorily I speak it. There is virtue in that Falstaff, him keep with. The rest banish. And tell me now, thou naughty varlet, tell me where hast thou been this month?
Dost thou speak like a king? Do thou stand for me, and I'll play my father.
What, depose me? If thou dost it half so gravely, so majestically, both in word and matter, then hang me up by my heels for a rabbit sucker or a poulter's hair.
Well, here I am set.
And here I stand, judge my masters.
Now, Harry, whence come you?
My noble lord from East Cheap.
The complaints I hear of thee are grievous.
Splud, my lord, they are false. Nay, I'll tickle you for a young prince in faith.
Swearest thou? Ungracious boy, henceforth ne'er look on me. Thou art violently carried away from grace. There is a devil haunts thee in the likeness of an old fat man. A ton of man is thy companion. Why dost thou converse with that trunk of humors, that bolting hutch of beastliness, that swollen parcel of dropsies, that huge bombard of sack, that stuffed cloak bag of guts, that roasted Manningtree ox with the pudding in his belly, that reverend vice, that grey iniquity, that father ruffian, that vanity in years? Wherein is he good but to taste sack and drink it? Wherein neat and cleanly but to carve a capon and eat it? Wherein cunning but in craft? Wherein crafty but in villainy? Wherein villainous but in all things? Wherein worthy but in nothing?
I would your grace would take me with you. Who means your grace?
That villainous, abominable misleader of youth, Falstaff, that old white-bearded Satan.
My lord, the man I know.
I know thou dost.
But to say I know more harm in him than in myself were to say more than I know. That he is old, the more the pity. His white hairs do witness it. But that he is, saving your reverence, a whoremaster, that I utterly deny. If sack and sugar be a fault, God help the wicked. If to be old and merry be a sin, then many an old host that I know is damned. If to be fat be to be hated, then Pharaoh's lean kine are to be loved. No, my good lord, banish Peto, banish Bardolph, banish Poins. But for sweet Jack Falstaff, kind Jack Falstaff, true Jack Falstaff, valiant Jack Falstaff, and therefore more valiant being as he is old Jack Falstaff, banish not him thy Harry's company. Banish not him thy Henry's company. Banish plump Jack. Banish all the world.
I do. I will.
Oh, my lord, the sheriff with the most monstrous watch is at the door.
Out, you rogue! Play out the play! I have much to say on the behalf of that Falstaff.
Oh, Jesu, my lord, my lord!
Hi, the devil rides upon a fiddlestick. What's the matter?
The sheriff and all the watch are at the door. They are to come search the house. Shall I let them in?
Dost thou hear, Hal? Never call a true piece of gold a counterfeit. Thou art essentially made without seeming so.
And thou a natural coward without instinct.
I deny your major. If you will deny the sheriff, so. If not, let him enter. If I become not a cart as well as another man, a plague on my bringing up. I hope I shall as soon be strangled with a halter as another.
Go hide thee behind the arras. The rest walk above. Now, my masters, for a true face and good conscience.
Both of which I have had, but their date is out, and therefore I'll hide me.
Call in the sheriff. Now, Master Sheriff, what is your will with me?
First, pardon me, my lord. A hue and cry hath followed certain men into this house.
What men?
One of them is well known, my gracious lord, a gross fat man.
As fat as butter.
The The man, I do assure you, is not here, for I myself at this time have employed him. And, Sheriff, I will engage my word to thee that I will by tomorrow, dinner time, send him to answer thee or any man for anything he shall be charged withal. And so let me entreat you, leave the house.
I will, my lord. There are 2 gentlemen have in this robbery lost 300 marks.
It may be so. If he have robbed these men, he shall be answerable. And so, farewell.
Good night, my lord.
I think it is good morrow, is it not?
Indeed, my lord. I think it be 2 o'clock.
This oily rascal is known as well as Paul's. Go call him forth.
Falstaff! Fast asleep behind the arrows and snorting like a horse.
Hark, how hard he fetches breath. Search his pockets. What hast thou found?
Nothing but papers, my lord.
Let's see what they be. Read them.
Item, a capon, 2 shilling and 2 pence. Item, sauce, 4 pence. Item, sack, 2 gallons, 5 shilling and 8 pence. Item, anchovies and sack after supper, 2 shillings 6 pence. Item, bread, halfpenny.
Monstrous! But 1 halfpenny worth of bread to this intolerable deal of sack? What there is else, keep close. We'll read it at more advantage. There let him sleep till day. All to the court in the morning. We must all to the wars, and thy place shall be honorable. I'll procure this fat rogue a charge of foot, and I know his death will be a march of 12 score. The money shall be paid back again with advantage. Be with me betimes in the morning. And so good morrow, Peter.
Good morrow, good my lord.